Welcome back to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. This is Juliette Hahn here with my co-host Brent Sopel. How are you?
Oh, another day, right? Paradise.
Another day. Another day. Exactly. So we're just going to get right into it. We're going to talk about avoidance. Do you want to say something?
No, lay the table.
Okay. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I think that as humans, we all avoid things that don't feel good. I mean, that's normal. That's necessary. But when you struggle in school, you almost learn how to avoid and you don't even realize you're doing it. So it's almost something that kind of comes and follows you. And you do have something to say.
No, well, it's just, is it avoidance or is it learned how to get around things?
Okay, so this is a very good. We can now do a semantics talk.
What?
Semantics. That means
what is that?
It's actually one of my favorite things. I always throw that in. I can't believe I haven't used that with you. Semantics is, and I'm probably going to get it wrong now, but semantics is, it could be the same word. And let me think about this. Same word, I mean, different word, same meaning kind of thing. So it's the semantics of it. It's the way you approach or say it. It could mean the same thing, but it could have two different words. And someone that's like an English major is going to be like, you have it backwards. You have it all wrong. It is basically, though, very similar. Like, as you just said, is it getting around things? You learn how to get around things, or is it avoidance? Like, those to me, one can be a positive, one can be a negative, right? So like you could, if you say like avoidance maybe is a little bit more of a negative word, I don't think of it. I think it is getting around things. You avoid doing the hard things, and hard things meaning the things that you can't do, because doing all the avoiding and getting around is actually harder sometimes than actually doing the task, if you think about it. Am I making any sense?
No, I don't think it's harder. I'd rather take longer than struggle.
Right. But if sometimes, okay, so I will bring this sometimes, because we think that we can't, like it's almost that starting something, right? It's so hard to start something when you can't process and you don't know what to do. And then finally, when you start it, it's like, okay, I'm just getting right through it. Now, I'm not talking about things that we struggle. I'm talking about just like general life, right? And then you throw in the struggle part.
But for us, what don't we struggle at?
Oh, geez. All right. Well, I'm gonna come up with a couple of things.
Right. Right.
I mean, right. When it comes to, and I'm really talking about like school, and then how that.
Yeah, and anything to do with school, the thought of it is just
is exhausting.
Mentally, so somebody asked me, where was it? It's recently, go back to school. Did you go back to school where you could?
I still think you're going to get that.
I'm not getting the only reason the way I'm getting my honorary degree that you keep saying is that somebody honors me and gives it to me.
Well, that's for another podcast. Okay, but I do want to go back when you said, are there things like what don't we struggle with?
Right.
Right.
What?
Okay. So me talking, even though I sound like I'm struggling this morning, me talking is not, it's like, that's where it, and same with you, those are the kind of things we don't struggle as much. So you go to that instead of doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to preface this without like getting to the real topic, because I really can't talk about that. And so I'm having a hard time. Right. So now I'm not talking well.
Oh, doing a great job.
All right. Listen, there are things that we're better at than not.
Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So when there's something that we're super weak at, we try to get around, and sometimes we don't always tap into our strength, or we try to figure out how to get around to use our strength. It's not a bad thing. This is a good thing. However, sometimes that takes longer than to be like, okay, I'm going to struggle at doing X, Y, and Z. But if I just sat and did it, now I'm not saying that that's easy. And do I ever do that? No. But I'm saying sometimes the work we do to get around figuring out to avoiding it's actually more effort, and our brains are tired. Where someone will say this, it takes me back to, you're not trying hard, you're not working hard enough, right? And some kids with dyslexia, we talk about this, they'll stay up until 4 a.m. to get their work done. So you don't know that A, see, look, now I'm on the flow, that they get that A wasn't because they literally stayed up until 4 a.m. There's others, and this is non-dyslexics and dyslexics, right? So like, this is just kind of life. There's others that are not going to stay up until 4. They're like, I'm going to sleep. If I get a C, I'm fine, right? I was that person. I have people in my life that are that people. I have actually both.
I was excited to get a C.
Right. It's like, I'll just, right. But you're still putting the effort into getting that C.
No, C, D's, and F's.
Right. But you're like, okay, I don't want to stay up until 4. Do I have the capability to do it anyways? I don't know. I don't think so. But to figure out how to get around to even start and get it done, sometimes you're putting more work in. So you're almost like staying up until 4 because you're like avoiding and getting around it. Does this make any fucking sense?
You are so down the rabbit hole right now. Then, if you don't know what your strengths are, you can't, you avoid. It's
yes, okay, about, that's true. Yeah, I like that.
People always talk about, kids need to advocate for yourself. You can't advocate till you know and understand.
100%, right? What you need and how you work.
And this falls in the same, in the same, same kind of category. Is, we're struggling. We're working extra hard to try and get around writing this email or doing this project for work that needs to be done or whatever it is, because we don't know where our strength is. Mm-hmm. That's the teeter-totter strengths and weaknesses. Right now, during that process, the teeter-totters, you're on the ground, right? Yeah. You can't see that. You can't see that other side, and you don't see what that strengths are, because when you're in that dark hole, as I always talk about, you don't see anything but that. Just like when something painful happens, you don't see what the message was till later, right? All you see is pain. Mm. Same kind of thing is, with us dyslexics, it's understanding before everybody talks about kind of like that spiraling out of control. Before you start that, because once you start that, then you don't see where your strengths are.
Right. And you don't know if you're coming or going. And so that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this, because I wanted to paint, even though I really didn't do much at completely explaining it. But it even comes down to, you don't know what kind of help you need. You don't know how to get through it. You don't know, you don't want to talk about anything. And it's just like, you avoid avoid absolutely everything, because it's like, if I crack a little, it's going to be like the floodgates. And so I'm holding on to like a pole in like a fucking tsunami.
That was my hockey life, right?
Right.
100 million % hockey gave me more negative than positive. And those, I think about athletes, the rituals or routines, or mine were all psychotic, because I was hanging on that for my life, hanging on that rope. And if I didn't do it to a T, like if I missed one little step off that, I was gone. I was a disaster.
Okay. So this is very interesting. So do you think, because if you think of kids, and when we'll have parents reach out to us, and they're first like they have dyslexia, and now they're starting to get OCD, and now they're starting this, and now they're starting that, and it's like, okay, well, let's break this down and talk about this, right? Like, here's a very interesting thing to that. Do you think some of your OCD behaviors when you played hockey, like, do you still have crazy rituals?
It wasn't, the OCD. It was just I did the same thing every game because I was successful at it once.
Right. Well, I think that's a little OCD.
No,
isn't
see,
it?
I don't, the OCD, in dyslexics, I don't believe in it, meaning we succeeded once. And what do we get out of that? Self-esteem.
Right. So you're going to be like, I'm going to do exactly the same thing.
Right. It worked. And then when it doesn't work, you're going to go back to, oh, it worked. And not try something, right? Yeah, and not be open-minded to try something different. So I had success one time, and you live on that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So it wasn't, it's, so when I mean that the OCD portion of it is you did that, right? You completed it, and that's why the win, the littlest wins for us are massive. I tell dyslexic, you gotta tell dyslexic they did a great job, and people are like, what the fuck? Why? Something an idiot. I'm like, do you really want to know why? Because we did a great job because we brushed our teeth, right? But don't forget how far down we are to get up to brush our teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So it's an interesting thought because really, OCD, which is. I just recently had a friend tell me her son, who's like in 3rd grade, she's like, now he's like OCD and he like washes his hands and does all this stuff like crazy. That's different than what I'm talking about. So I'm using kind of the same word, but talking about doing the same thing over and over again. And if you didn't like hit the light at the same time, like there's definitions and levels, just like in anything. And with dyslexia, we talk about that, attention deficit, all the different things. There's levels to all of it. And so I like how you just said that though. And so I really want people to think about that is when you all of a sudden have success, it's like, okay, I need to grab onto that because that felt good. And I need to make sure I'm going to continue to do it.
When you struggle as much as we do, you hang on to all wins.
Right.
That's why our lows are as low and our highs are mountaintops. And in non-dyslexic, you just, that's not a big deal. Oh, let me tell you, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
A massive deal. And that's where, everybody has to, understand that, I always say this, grade 6, you just, you want the people on the lake as you're trying to read and you can't. Like, what's that do to you as a kid? We know we can walk in a room and we know we're different. And that's not a fun feeling. Like, being dropped in the middle of the ocean, life jacket and no boat. And what would people do? You tell them, all right, now what do you want to do? I'm gone. See ya. I'll drown myself. I ain't staying around.
Well, thank goodness you're not dropped off in the middle of the ocean.
I wish. I just drown myself and be done.
Oh,
but that's
no, yeah,
that's how we feel when we walk into a room. That's how we feel when we walk into a team, a group, conference room. That's how we feel. That we know it's. We had Elizabeth's mom babysits, and the little twins are, I think, they're kindergarten, and the daughter, she's got some things going on. She said to her mom, nobody's crushing on me or will ever crush on me. She's in fucking kindergarten. So that's how early we know.
Oh yeah.
She's 5. That's how early we know. So and it only gets worse the older you get.
Yeah. And even if you have the confidence, because I want to also take it where even if you have the confidence in other parts, going in, your mind's always like, okay, how am I going to avoid, or how am I going to figure out how to get out of things? And that's, again, like, that's just naturally you go into situations. And it is interesting thinking of just people in general and people's personalities, because some people thrive. I remember I did this workshop and someone was like, I love tests. And it literally, I started sweating. I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't want to do that. If though, but I love a conference. I love a conference because I know I can talk. I know I can talk about anything. I can connect. And even if you don't know what's going to actually happen, you're confident in something that you have. So I know I can talk my way out of anything. And so I don't even think about that. However, if you're going to go into a situation where you have no idea what, going into a classroom at the beginning of school, right? It's I don't know what I'm learning. I don't know how am I going to follow this? I don't know this. And it is this anxious feeling. My middle son going to take the SATs shortly, and every time I even say the word, I get like sweaty, and I'm
I never took them. So,
well, I didn't have my oldest take them because, thank goodness after COVID he didn't have to. But I know, right? You didn't have to. They are torture.
Their school was an option for me. So, my parents and I don't even. Again, this is how school is. This is how much. I don't even know. I don't even remember SAT that talk in school.
Right.
To the point where oh, we don't have to do that in Canada. I'm not, I don't even
you don't know.
No clue. None. Right. That's how far I don't remember anything of what school was. High school, nothing. Because, everybody talks about, SATs and ACTs and whatever number, everybody here, I hear it.
Oh, but it's
growing up, not a clue.
Yeah. But the other thing is they have to do is everyone you have to, and this is, I get so tweaked on this, and we're not doing this, but you have to get a tutor to tutor you to take these, because you need to learn how to take it a certain way. Just like with the driver's ed, you need to have a teacher teach you how. It's not just regular driving. You have to drive like the test. And it's but no one does that. So why does it constantly, I mean, it's all money making for this old different industry. We don't want anybody to drive
like you because you run on the gas and can pop tires. So
I haven't done that in a long time. Don't put that on the universe. But it is you have to take things, you gotta get tutored. It is ridiculous, and it's all building blocks. So if you're not taking algebra 2 at the right time when you're taking SATs, it's oh fuck, you're not going to get a great score on your SATs because you haven't done that yet. Oh, I didn't think about that. There's so many different things that are it's this cog in a wheel that it's oh, this is what everyone's doing. We're just spitting this out, but it's not no one is. Even kids that do well in school, if you ask, and I have kids all over, hey, do you enjoy school? I mean, it's pretty boring, but I like my friends and I like this. It's so just blah that yeah, I said blah.
Wow. Again, I had this conversation the other day. Most of the world don't even know there's a second way to think.
Right.
Everybody, it's one way. It's one way, and that's if that's not you, it sucks, because then you got to sit there for 8 hours a day. And right. And who was I meeting with the other day? It's the same thing. It's you got to learn how people learn. How do people get information? Is it audio? Is it visual? What do they need? If you can learn that, you're going to be successful in anything. You have to learn how each person leads. Like remember those assholes from what was that company?
Devil, that one.
What's that? No, here in Chicago. Two Canadians.
I don't know which one. There's so many else.
Print.
What is it?
You talked to the two Canadians.
The two Canadians.
Yeah, from Chicago. A company.
Oh, right.
What's it called?
Oh, fuck. The big marketing company. I know who you're talking about. The two asshole Canadians. I was like, oh, wait, I got to.
What company is that? What's the name?
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. Fucking assholes. But I said to them, like, you're pitching these big marketing budgets to a company, and yet you don't know how they learn. How does that make sense?
What is their names? Mm-hmm.
Print.
No, I can't even think of the two guys' names. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
Adam and
that's right.
So it's if you're trying to present something to somebody and that's not how they learn, are you going to be successful?
No, and I can't find it. I know exactly. It'll come to me after we get off this recording. But it brings such a good point up because there's not one brain to way to learn. Everyone learns things different. Just like we just had a call before, and someone was like, if we can put side by side what it looks like now and both of us were like, oh my God, yes. If I could have two different visuals to be like this, because even I have a kid being like, hey mom, can you order this? I'm going to take a picture. And that it's in my text. And then I go to order it on Amazon and I'm like, fuck, I don't know. And I need to see both. I need to see the visual and then see the words. And so it's a really difficult thing. And
take the picture with Amazon, finds it cheaper.
What do you do?
Elizabeth's on some app or something on Amazon. You can take a picture of the product.
Yeah.
And it gives you a list of things cheaper.
Interesting. I'll have to get that from her.
Yeah, but everything, you tell me something, you tell me 3 things I need to get from the grocery store. If you tell me, 150 million% not getting them.
Yeah. Oh my God, I used to do that all the time.
How many times I got to go down my text? Okay, did I get it? And back to the top.
Oh, it's exhausting. Yeah. Well, but it's also today at my trainer, she was showing me, she was visually showing me what to do. And it was a complicated move. And I literally then started doing it and I started laughing and I was like, I did watch you, but I did not process fucking any of that. I was like, we need to go step by step because it was like 4 steps. And I was like, I know the first 2, but I can't do the 4th. And even like if you text someone questions and it's like 3 or 4 questions, I love when someone gets back to me first 2. I know exactly. I'm like, interesting. Okay. I know their kind of brain. I can't do that. Right. But not a lot of people would get that. They'd be like, fuck, they didn't answer all my questions. Right. And they would get pissed.
Right. But again, you only process the first 2 because you're so focused on the first 2.
Right. To hold on to it.
Yeah. Grocery store. All right. Okay. I got to get this. Because now you're trying to remember that, but you forgot everything else.
Right. It is, and it's simple, but it's then if you just take it, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because even if you think about it, when you have children, just like when people will say, a child's attention span, this is like someone that doesn't even have anything, right? A child's attention span is like nothing. So you need to like look them in the eyes, you need to touch them on the shoulder, and then you think, go ahead.
It's got to be fun.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. Has to be fun.
When I'm coaching, I'm always having fun. Saying stupid things like, I'm HR's worst nightmare.
I'm HR's worst nightmare.
But the kids are always laughing.
Right.
and they're always getting better because we're having
Right. Because you're having fun.
But then, as coaching, if I snap, all right, they listen. No. And, so back to where, it's how the brain, but if you're so goddamn boring, like yesterday, was listening to a podcast with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, which I can't stand, listening to it. But Elon Musk is so monotoned.
Oh, yeah.
And he's talking about rockets, which I think is the dumbest thing ever. And he, so I think it's dumb anyways, but then he was so monotone that he would just talk like this the whole time. I'm like, fucking shoot me. So back to the blob is, you've got to have fun. Like, you're talking about kids, you've got to make things fun. It doesn't matter what kind of brain they have, but kids, even adults, who doesn't want to have fun?
Right.
So you got to make it, you got to make fun in there, however that ends up being, whatever that ends up being for you in a classroom, or obviously older kids, or just,
Yeah.
You got to find a way to mix in. Life is not easy. Life's hard, and you only make it harder by doing that. If you can get them to laugh, you can crack a smile on something, then you're going to break through with them. Then they're going to drop their shoulders down and give you more room to be able to execute things that you want to execute.
Mm-hmm. So that's, I want parents and teachers to think about this. If a kid seems to be avoiding something, just dive in a little deeper.
There's a reason. Kids are way smarter than their own good.
100%.
You've heard me say it on many times, the hockey portion and how I never took a nap. I didn't figure that out till a couple of years ago, till I was like 45 years old.
Right.
So I was doing this without even knowing why I was doing it. I knew this is what I need to do. So we may not even know why, or it's just our instincts have taken us to be able to do that.
Which is kind of cool.
Which is cool. Just goes back to my statement earlier. We know we're different, and we know how much it sucked feeling that way. So we're going to try and avoid that feeling.
Right. Or thinking about it. So that's the thing. Like if you see that, or if a kid with like the 4 or 5 different steps, like just stop and just be like, you know what, I'm going to adjust it. Or you see someone's not picking something up, think about trying to teach different. And then it's not easy. Not everyone can do that. And so like, maybe I need to deliver a little different. Maybe I need to dive into this a little bit gently.
And I was telling somebody last week, we can remember step 1, step 2. That's it. So like when I was coaching, I can't even get past that. My brain can't take me there. I can only do so everybody wants to be at 10, but why can't we we're at 1. That's not how this works. So, whatever you do, start simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget that.
Yeah. People complicate the shit out of things.
You add go up to your room, brush your teeth, make your bed, clean your room, this 62. And then you get pissed off when they can't. I can't even do that. So let's start at the bottom, no matter if you're at an office, you have some work, whatever that is. Start simple. Then you will be able to see where people are at. Mm-hmm. If you jump into, to 5, you'll never understand who you lost in that path.
Mm-mm. And the other thing is, I think is really important, and it's a skill that I'm not saying is easy, but to figure out how someone learns and how they interpret, and then helping them being able to do that. So like, if you see that a kid is not, like, you can tell, and they're going to say, oh yeah, no, I get it. Right. I mean, how many times have we done that? I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like Googling. I'm like, I don't fucking know what they're talking about. I think I do that all the time, but it is if someone at a very early age can learn, and I know you're like, where is she going with this? Can learn how they understand or can interpret things, and not even, again, we just talked about that we always can't understand. Like, we don't know how we learn. Sometimes we don't know how we think, just like you said, you didn't realize this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the more that we can, as adults, if we're gifted in these things, if we are a teacher and we're a really good teacher, and you can see, hey, this kid is like learning by seeing two things next to each other, point that out. Hey, you know what? I think you learn best when you're doing X, Y, and Z. Try to kind of incorporate that. I know I'm going, but as a parent, it's important, because if you can give that kid something that young, and then they get through and they want to go to college and they want to do all these things, and they have an understanding of how they learn and interpret things, you're just going to help them be more successful in life.
You know, the parent or the teacher needs to know that how each kid learns. First,
right?
There's a time where you can add that to them, like, giving a kid too much information at a young age, and that's first.
Yes,
right. It's kindergarten doesn't need to know how they learn, right? But it's, as a teacher or as a parent, the quicker you can learn how your students or your kids learn, and 100%, as they get older. Oh yeah, you're a visual learner. You learn best. 100%. When they're comfortable to understand what that means, and it doesn't take them down, a rabbit hole. But we have to, as adults, do a better job of learning how even family members. You think about it, you're trying to tell grandma something, and you're pissed off grandma didn't do this. Well, is that how grandma learns best?
Right.
Like Elizabeth's grandma, she's 96, still living on her own.
Wow.
Showering on her own yesterday. Oh yeah. Like, it's incredible. 96.
Yeah.
So, does she, call her up? Hey, I need you to do this. Is that, and then I get mad she doesn't. Is that, now whose fault's that?
Right.
You've got to understand way people, she still uses email. She's like, I need my email. She just got a new computer. She's 96.
I love that.
Yeah. She has her 3 o'clock glass of wine, and she says her eyes don't work after 3 o'clock. And it's quite remarkable. It's quite remarkable. But, is that how she needs the information, right? So it's, and we get pissed off a lot of, so-and-so didn't do this or so-and-so didn't do that. Well, how'd you tell them to do that? How did you give them the information to do that?
Mm-hmm. And it just goes back to anything, even like when you're working with people, to have an understanding of how they interpret things. It just makes things easier. And my oldest right now, going into like all of the tests that he's taking, he's like, I wish that I thought I knew how to study and learn, but in like high school, I was avoiding everything. Right. So now all of a sudden it's like smacked in his face, and he's figuring it out. But not the beautifullest way. That's not even a word.
That's not even a word, but
yeah, it's not a word, but you know what I'm saying? He's figuring it out, and it's like, okay, that's what, you get so many times in our lives, we get stripped down and then built back up, stripped down, built back up. And it is interesting if you have...
High school doesn't teach,
They teach shit. I fucking hate it. I'm very angry at the high school right now, but whatever.
But, they don't teach you, studying skills. Again, because they don't figure out where you learn. They don't talk about any of that.
And sometimes, right. But sometimes kids innately just figure it out. Like my daughter, I mean, if you ask her how she studies for her, like I'm like in awe, because I'm like, interesting. How did she's like, well, I figured it out. It's just, and she's not avoiding. She likes school. So she's diving in and figuring out when you don't like school, you're not like, hey, let me figure out how can I fucking avoid and get around. And that's why I started this whole conversation, because we then do it throughout life sometimes.
Oh, $100 million. Why, like, and talk about like people going to new restaurants and trying different food and trying new things. Fuck that. That's why, I was like, God, I didn't know golf. There's this much golf in the fucking world. Because I know I can turn on that and I don't have to think and get scared what's coming next. It's going to a restaurant and trying something new. No, fuck no.
Or looking at the menu and like having to read the whole freaking menu if it's big. And
no, that's that's not fun. And that's what we live every day.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for joining Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. You guys know what to do. I say it every single fucking time. Like, rate, review, and share. You don't know who, right now is struggling with their kid. You don't know who's struggling in school. You don't know what teacher right now is like, oh my God, this kid is killing me. I don't know what's going on. And this episode actually can resonate and they can say, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to try something different. So I'm just going to leave it at that.